I just say, hello, can I just say, Francine?
Yes.
A lot of people here are sponsored by some very reputable things.
Yes.
Universities, foundations. We are sponsored by Claridge's Nursing Home. Could you please... I'm only presuming this is because of you, because you're local.
I'm
hoping it's connected to Claridge's, because I'm checking in. Thank you. Sorry, I interrupt. Obviously, you've got more to say. No, you haven't. Fine.
No, I haven't. Absolutely
Right.
nothing else. Let's sit down. Jennifer
Thank
Saunders.
you. This is my first time in Hay, and it's raining.
Well,
Pardon? I heard that from the person that was at the car park. She said, have you been before? I said, no. She said, it's always like this. It kind of threw footwear into chaos. I didn't know what to wear.
it's really weird because it's always like this the first weekend.
Oh, is it?
It's very strange. And the second weekend, it clears
It'll
up.
be lovely, will it?
Well, maybe not this year, but you never know. So we are here to talk, well, we can talk about anything, but we can talk about Bonkers, your amazing...
Yes, that would be best.
Amazing memoir.
Can I just say, Francine, I'm sorry to interrupt you again. This is an awful, terrible habit. But a lot of people say, Jennifer, why don't you just do the thing on your own? Why don't you just go and talk to people on your own? And I say, I can't, because normally I'm used to working in a double act, you know, either with Dawn or with Joanna. So for all intents and purposes, for this afternoon, you are Dawn French. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
It's not a lot
honoured.
to live up to.
I'm absolutely honoured.
Good.
Now, well, first thing we should get out of the way
Yes.
is, why did you write, I mean, I can see all sorts of reasons, but why did you want to write a memoir? It's very big.
It's very big, isn't it? Oh, there it is. That's better. I wanted, well, did I want to? No. But I did sort of want to write something. And Dawn had done her autobiography, Dear Fatty, and I thought she'd kind of got a really good idea there. You know, she did the whole thing in letters, emotional letters, talking emotional things to people that had meant a lot in her life, and I thought I could never do that. And it was only when I went to Claire Balding's book launch, and I met her editor, Joel, who is my editor and is here and very embarrassed probably, that I thought, well, actually, maybe I could if I made it funny, if I made it into anecdotes and made it funny.
Well, and it is very fun. And also, it's great because it's not predictable. It kind of jumps around, or maybe...
Well, I think that's probably by accident, but yes, you're quite right. It does jump from... No, I didn't want a chronology, because if I read an autobiography, I generally skip past. I don't want to read about people's granny parents. I want to get to the nub of the person, you know, and so I didn't want to do a lot of sort of build-up of I was born here, blah, blah, blah. I wanted to write the things that had happened in my life and made my life what it is.
But actually, I mean, it's also quite easy to see a line that runs from early on, and some of the, I mean, there's some pretty humorous things that seem to, or humorous attitudes towards things that actually your family had. And I think we should go, we're actually going to have, actually I didn't practice about how we do this.
No, you haven't practiced it.
We have a little practice here. We actually have some images, including an image of, I imagine it'd be this one.
No, it's not.
It's not, is it? Come on, give us a hand here, somebody.
No, it's not.
You would think it'd be...
But you see, this
there we
is...
are. It
There
worked.
we
I just didn't
go.
press hard enough.
Yes,
Now,
that's me.
she's gorgeous. She's gorgeous. I tell you what, she can do deadpan really early on. Can't she?
Yes. That was happy, believe me. That was really happy. And the weird thing is, my nickname at that time was Podge.
No.
And it sort of stuck, unfortunately. Yes, thank you for the R's down front. Because it's not a good name, especially nowadays, to call girls.
But she's
you know.
not. She's not.
Well, she was quite... I was a bit, actually. You'll see later. I was. But, yes, deadpan...
But
That actually was happy, and I've suffered that most of my life, is the fact that when my face is in repose, I look quite miserable or very angry. Yeah. And so everywhere you go, you get people going, cheer up, love, come on, cheer up, might never happen. I say, well, just did.
But around you, around Podge, people were laughing a lot.
Yes, my family was very jolly. My dad was quite a clown, quite a comedian, quite a clown. And I didn't actually, until I started to research the book, I hadn't appreciated how funny my family were and how different it was growing up with a dad that was always making jokes about the neighbors that came around, always doing impersonations, and that sitting having a meal was about telling a funny story or making people laugh. And I grew up in a good, funny household.
And something slightly anarchic about your dad's humour as well, I think.
Yes, because he was a very sort of traditional sort of person. He was in the RAF, he got to a good rank, and yet his one phrase in life was, you can be serious but never take yourself seriously. So we all lived by that, which was, be serious but never take yourself seriously. He did anything that was pompous or was thinking it was above itself. So I think that's where I got the idea that most things were up for grabs. You could take the piss out of most things.
And did you, because you had brothers, was there a competitive thing going on in terms of being funny? Or?
No, not really in terms of being funny. In terms of being physical, yeah. I mean, I was quite a tomboy, and we had motorbikes and horses, and I had the horses, they had the motorbikes, but I really wanted to be best on the motorbikes as well.
So what trumps what, horse or motorbike?
I did both.
Yeah.
I hope I won them both.
Well, let's go. I'm not even sure where I hit it.
Oh, yes,
now. This is a great
yes, you see
picture.
Podge. I'm the child, by the way, there. The other ladies are my grandmother seated and my great aunt standing up. So I didn't really have much hope. And in fact, they were rather splendid. And they had whippets, which I now have a whippet, and a drink in the early morning, which I find very, very successful.
They look, but they look like they enjoyed life.
They're good old types, old-fashioned types of ladies. And in fact, Dawn and I, we did a couple of characters called the Fat Ladies. And, hey! No stuff and nonsense and all that sort of thing. And they were sort of based on my grandmother and my great-aunt, because they were great racing ladies. Took no nonsense. Never got ill.
Excellent. I'm not sure. Talking of racing, you see, the horses immediately came in. So you've already mentioned the horses. Clearly, this is a big thing in life.
Well, I think it sometimes is with girls. I mean, boys too, but I think specifically girls become quite attached through a lot of literature to ponies. And going riding is the greatest sort of freedom you can have. And I didn't get a pony till I think I was 13 when I got my first pony. And I traded it off against going to public school. Because my dad was in the Air Force, the Air Force would pay for you to go away to school. And I said no, thinking I was saving the money. I said, I don't want to go. I'll go to the local school, but I want a pony. And they bought me a pony.
It's a good deal. And also lots of, without being kind of too big, lots of imaginative space when you're out riding. There's lots of time to think.
Well, I mean, would you let your, 12-year-old child out alone for hours on end in the evening on anything other than a pony? No. And it's a bizarre thing that you're allowed out on a huge animal, controlled only by a couple of bits of leather and a bit of metal in its mouth, for hours on end on your own. And before the idea of mobile phones or anything. So when you got home from school, you immediately just shoved a bridle on your pony and you were out, singing songs, meeting friends. It was the best freedom you could have at that age.
But no thought of performance at that stage?
No. Vet.
Vet?
Vet or 3-day eventer.
Yeah. Or both.
Or hugely famous pop star. One or the other. I don't think hugely famous pop star ever leaves you, does it?
No.
I'm still thinking I could be. I
Excuse
could.
Well,
X Factor, I could be there.
But then actually you've also had a chance to be some of these people sort of by proxy.
Vicariously.
Yes. I mean,
that's quite nice.
You've done a fair amount of singing and
I imitate singing, you see. I'm very good at imitating singing. I don't do a great deal of my own singing.
That's a great bit in the book, actually, how you find it more difficult to sing as you than as somebody else.
I really find it impossible to sing as me. My whole family can sing. I've got 3 daughters. My husband's a brilliant singer. They're all great musicians. I open my mouth, and it's actually quite tragic. I can say, if I'm imitating someone, I can do it. But I also can't count time, Francine. That's extraordinary. I can't count time.
That's quite
I
unusual.
never know when I'm coming in or when I'm coming out. And sometimes they stop me and they go, that's not even the tune. And it's just like, I have the whole world in my head, but it's a complete fantasy.
But is it when you then are singing as Meryl Streep in Mamma Mia or whoever it is, or whether you're being Madonna or whatever, you just think about them and then
you
that
imitate
self-conscious is
what
gone.
they're doing.
Right, so if they can
Entirely.
count, you can count.
The only thing I had to sing as myself was when I was in Shrek as the fairy godmother. And at which point I knew I was in trouble. Thank you, it sounded like that. That was my early days as the fairy godmother. And what happened was that, I had one singing lesson. And this isn't a really good thing to remember if ever you're singing. Because often, do you ever sing in church and think, I can't sing a note? I'm now being heckled by a baby. That's never happened before. But when you're in church and you think, I can't sing this hymn, I don't know what key it's in, I can't sing a note. Here's the thing. When you're going for the high notes, Francine, don't try and go high by putting your head up. Imagine the note is the furthest away on a road. Can you see that? Instead of going high, you go high, like that, and that will keep you centered, and you'll get that note.
Excellent.
I want you to try that next time you're in church, Francine.
That's the great thing about any kind of common thing like that is the way that people shift all the time. And you see them, no, I think I'll take that up an octave. And then,
yeah, that's the way. When I was doing Shrek, I had this great friend with me, Simon Brint, who was the only person who'd ever been able to get me and Dawn to sing properly. And he literally stood there and went, start, stop. Then he'd go, higher, lower, like that. And that's how we got through the whole thing, literally line by line. They go, I think we got that line. Okay, let's do another one. And we'd go, higher, stop, lower, stop.
The thing with animation that always fascinates me is the relationship between the what we see in terms of the realization of the character and the voice performance. Because there's usually a little something in there, even if it doesn't look exactly like you. With the godmother in Shrek.
Well, they film you doing it.
Right.
So if you're doing a voiceover for a cartoon, as you say, we say animation. Computer-generated graphic. And they actually film you doing it. So you're actually stood there, singing away. And they've got a film camera on you, so you do...
So they pick up mannerisms.
So they pick up mannerisms and, things.
And did you like the godmother?
No. She was a bit dumpy and she didn't last long enough. That was my thought of the fairy godmother. In fact, I actually made them record a line because this, if you haven't seen the film, I play a fairy godmother who eventually, at the end, explodes. Sequel, hello. So I actually got them to record the line, I'll be back. And they never used it.
So there we are. Let's march on through your...
March on.
There we... Oh, look.
Now, yes. Can you spot me?
Yeah. Just a bit well padded up there on the...
Yes, I am the goalie. But look at those hairdos. Who remembers those hairdos?
Yeah,
Isn't that terrible?
Yeah.
That was the day before hairdressers, and only with a comb. Everyone had a comb. Make your parting.
And everybody wore bunches disappeared, actually, didn't they? The exception,
bunches.
sort of kind of funny retro
with
comedies.
your comb, bunches. But I was, that was at my secondary school. And it was when I was growing up, my family were in the Air Force. So we moved every 2 or 3 years. So I went to about 7 schools, 2 of them twice. And my final school, because my dad left the Air Force when I was a teenager, was this school. So when I was about 14, I went to the school I was at the longest, which was Northwich Grammar School for Girls. And I actually had quite a good time then, because I'd learnt to blend into people, to blend into a classroom. Because normally when you start you start at a new school, it's just always embarrassing, it's a problem, it was never at the beginning of term, so you're always the new girl. So for years you are the new girl, and just as you settle in, you move on and you become the new girl again. And everyone says, oh, doesn't that make you like the class clown? Didn't you become the class clown? And I said, no, I became a really good silent blender.
Yeah.
It just became sort of unnoticeable and blended in quite well. So at this last school, that was me quite well blended.
So it's a coping strategy rather than a standing out one.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I mean, it's much easier. You know, you stand up at the front of a class and they all go, now, here's Jennifer Saunders. Now, where are we going to sit you? And you see all the bad girls at the back of the class going, not near me, not near me, not me, shuffle up, like this. And all the brainy ones in the middle who've obviously got friends. And then there's a sort of sad one at the front with an empty chair. And they go, we'll sit you next to Christine. There you go. Yeah. So you start at Christine and you slowly...
And then you throw her away, don't you?
I threw her away. And you gradually blend your way to the back.
Yeah.
By being vaguely unnoticed, but sort of like one of them.
Yeah. So a little bit.
So I've sort of blended my way to here in life.
Doing pretty well, but you're definitely at the front here. Sitting here with okay, onwards. Oh, that's great. Fashion.
Now.
Fashion.
Well, it is a slight fashion statement, the beetle cap. And the beetle cap actually was from a lot earlier. It was from about 3 years earlier because it had a cape. A small cape that matched. And it was the cape and cap that I was bought to go to the palace because my dad got a CBE. And so that was part of the outfit to go to the palace, which is a very glamorous day. I remember it. We all stopped. We drove from some Air Force base to Hyde Park, stopped in a car park, and we all changed clothes in the car. I remember seeing my dad's pants and thinking, what are you doing? And he changed into his uniform and we all went off to the palace. But as you see,
Notice, yep.
It went away then, didn't it? I looked back and it was me.
I know.
Hello. Oh, camera.
Yep.
You see the camera, Francine?
Photojournalism?
Yes, yep. I was going to be a photojournalist. And in fact, there's some examples, I think, following on from this.
There we are. Here we go.
Of my yes, there we... On the left there is my best friend from school on a school trip.
She appears to be accompanied by some ectoplasm. Is that?
Yes, that's a small blip there. I don't know what that was. And on the right is my dog. I don't know if you can see that. There's some more, Francine. Please, move on.
There we go.
Naughty. Yes, top left donkey, Francine.
Oh, sorry.
Top right dog but moved. Bottom dog. Half dog. And I can explain this. This is that whole era when you had your Instamatic camera. And for some extraordinary reason, they put the viewfinder here, but the lens here. So I'm thinking I'm taking a picture of you. Actually, I'm taking a picture of Francine.
But you know what's particularly bizarre as you look at those now, and they could be in some art gallery installation.
Is there anyone here? I saw Alan Yentop backstage. You might, put a word in for me.
Oh, no. Okay, so here we are. So this is going to be a long section.
Yes.
Yeah. So at this point, you were denying any impetus to be a performer whatsoever. And yet you meet this woman here, Dawn French, where?
I met her at college. I met her at Central School of Speech and Drama. And that came about because I had left school with 3 rather poor, actually probably pretty average A-levels then, because the A-star hadn't been invented then. A virtually wasn't like on the radar, but A-star. And so with sort of B, C, D, I sort of left school with the idea from the careers officer that I could possibly be a dental nurse. and it didn't quite appeal. So I applied to lots of universities that refused to take me, and I was left with nothing to do, you know. And my mother then decided I should go and be an au pair in Italy, which I did. And when I came back from doing that, she had the forms out of all the colleges that had vacancies still. And one of them was Central School of Speech and Drama. And she said, "Where do you want to go?" I said, "London." She ticked the box. There was a perfunctory audition. It was for a B.Ed course, but you had to go along and show willing. And honestly, Francine, it was this. Yeah. I literally walked into the thing. There was a guy there. He sat you down at a piano. He played a note. Bong. He then said, "Can you sing a note above that?" And I went, boom. He said, "You're in." Dawn claims it wasn't that easy, but for me, it was that easy.
So did you have any idea beyond the course what you might want to do?
No, I had no idea. I just thought it would be great fun living in London, and it was. And it was a shock that the course was actually a teaching course, because I hadn't appreciated. No one told me B.Ed, that's like teaching. And so when they said, "And we'll be doing teaching practice," I was like, what, where? And had to go through that, which was horrible, and realized I wasn't cut out, actually, to be a teacher. And but Dawn and I, in the meantime, had started to share a flat and got on extremely well, and had started to amuse our flatmates with some silly sketches, and that's what sort of led on to us doing it in public.
There's great stuff in the book about the way that you started to write together, and about there being a sort of dynamic that, and you know when you find somebody else who can do this, because it's about a kind of generosity that...
Yeah, it's about those people you find, and I'm sure most people have it with their best friend. You find a best friend that just keeps the laughter going, that keeps the conversation going, that is even willing to repeat the conversation just to have the laugh again. And that's sort of what the comedy is. It's repeating the conversation over and over just to enjoy the laugh, and not having someone that ever puts a full stop on a laugh or a nice moment, so that, you know, they never question. That's a lot of the thing is if you want to keep comedy going, you don't suddenly go, "No, why have you just said that?"
Yeah, well, that's not
you
fun,
go,
yeah.
You know, keep it going.
Yeah.
And that's what Dawn and I had. We've suddenly found that we just wanted to keep it going. And we were quite bored. I mean, we were living in a flat, and we were the only two that were students and didn't have jobs. And so we had a lot of spare time on our hands and not enough money for alcohol. So we made our own fun. We used to you'll see a picture in a minute. Show the next pic.
Oh, okay, here we go.
Yes!
Yeah.
Okay, that was our fun. We used to dress up as punks and try and frighten people on the tube. No alcohol, you know, and Dawn would normally, she'd normally have a sort of tampon hanging from her ear or something, you know. And we'd literally dress up and literally go and sit on the tube until we could make the people that we were looking at move.
And was there ever very kind of extreme examples of people flee, or were they just...
No, they just sort of looked at us and got bored of us, I think, eventually. We weren't that frightening, but it was kind of just a thing to do. We used to get a friend of ours to put a whole laundry basket over her whole torso, so just her little legs were coming out from underneath, and wander up and down the street dancing. Just so we could look and see what people's reactions were. It was a kind of your own private candid camera is what we were doing.
Yeah. With a great
you should try it, honestly. It's good fun.
With a sort of surreal element as well. But
yeah.
This is not professional performing at this point.
No, we only started, we started at college. There was an actors' cabaret at the end of every year. And Dawn was so cross with most of the actors because they were actors for some reason. I don't know. She got very, very cross with them. And and decided that we should do, and it was unheard of because we were on the teaching course, that the teachers should join the actors' cabaret and do an act. But we decided we would. And we had an act at the time called the Menopause Sisters.
hang on.
Don't ask.
Wait a minute.
At that point,
There
I
they
had
are.
no idea what the menopause was. No, that's the Menopatzies. They
Oh,
came
sorry,
later.
it's the next incarnation.
We called ourselves Menopause Sisters. I think we thought it was something to do with periods, but we had no idea. I do now, obviously. It's quite hot in here, isn't it? Yeah. And we went along and we sung a few songs, and it went down really well.
Yeah.
Well, the alternative was some actors doing poetry and strumming a guitar and a caftan, you know, I mean, so I think we did quite well. And after that, we sort of decided we were an act.
So the Menopatzi sisters, who
Yes,
we
they
could have them
came. I
back.
think we did do them once at college, yes.
So
They're a mimed Italian circus act.
Yeah, they're great. I can see
Obviously.
they're great.
And actually the big joke, and you probably can't quite see it, is that we had our nipple tassels on the back of the leotard. You see? As if they put on back to front. Anyway, they were the circus act. And actually, we took them all the way through right until we were on television.
And because
That's
they had
how
a sort
little
of
material we had,
big
Francine.
build up, didn't they? And then the actual
They had
acrobatics.
a massive build-up,
Yeah.
a lot of
Resin.
resin or
Whatever it's
rosin or whatever it's called, all over our hands, and a lot of this and that, and then a lot of jumping up and down, and then they'd do a forward roll. Or pretend to walk on a ball or something like that. No, they're one of my favourite acts, actually.
Yeah.
I could still enjoy those.
So then you're starting, but at the point where you're starting out as a sort of professional
Yeah.
act, it's quite, it's a sort of
Unhinged.
edge-
Did you say?
Was it unhinged? No,
Yeah.
but it's this kind of fairly edgy stand-up sort of time.
It's not. Well, I suppose, but by the time we'd left, Dawn went on to be a teacher for a year. She got a job. I didn't get a job, and so I was constantly looking for work, and eventually saw an advert in the Stage that said, comedy acts wanted at this club in Soho. So I said, well, maybe Dawn and I could do that. Like, they specifically wanted female comedy acts, sorry. And I said, well, maybe Dawn and I could do that. So I rang her. And of course, she was very busy with teaching, very, very busy. Couldn't possibly. And I persuaded her that, look, it'd just be an evening, we'd go along, we'd do what we did at college and everything. And we did, and we went along there, and it was the comic strip. It was run by Peter Richardson, who eventually became, the whole group of us became the comic strip on telly. And we got the part because I think possibly we were the only people with bosoms that walked in. I don't know, but we got the.
But those
The
comic
part.
strip, those early comic strip TV things were, I mean, they're really memorable because they just hit really good targets, didn't they? Those sort of
Yeah,
the Enid Blyton thing. Or
Well, I
the
think we were
sort of-
kind of, we were very lucky the way that we got into television, that we just sort of seemed to jump through a sort of loop that was there, and we were allowed to do whatever we wanted. I mean, it really
Yeah.
seemed like that in those days.
Yeah, these
but
days it would
we-
go through all sorts of
Oh, these
bidding
days it would never
processes and-
happen. It'd be 5 years down the line, we'd all have died. But, but we, you know, in those days, people just took a risk and put us on telly.
How did you decide what the subjects were going to be then?
It was largely Peter Richardson, to be honest. And Rick and Aid did a few, and eventually me and Dawn did a couple. I don't know, we just sort of, it was a sort of random pick.
It's great fun though. And also maybe.
Well, it's us again, sorry, I thought it was
Okay,
suddenly
well,
another
there we are.
picture.
Talking of you and Aid, there you are on your.
Oh yes, that's on our honeymoon. Do you
Very
want to?
nice. It's very
I
sweet.
know, isn't it sweet?
Where is that?
It's amazing. Where is that?
Where is that?
Don't you know, Francine? Don't you recognise that bed? It's in the Lake District, if you want to know.
It's not the Cherbourg Hotel, is it?
No, it's not. It's not. It's not that
'Cause
posh.
We had our honeymoon here.
Oh, did you?
The same place.
Exactly the same
Similar
bed.
bed, actually,
Oh.
but you weren't there at the time, obviously. But
Yes, Francine. Security. Now, what would you like to know about that?
it's a very sweet photograph.
It's a very sweet photograph, apart from the fact that I've got tonsillitis.
Oh.
Yes.
That's not good.
But Aid and I met at the comic strip, And 6 years later, we went out with each other. And 6 weeks later, we got married. I mean, it's a very, that's how it happened. It happened quite quickly, eventually, but we were very good friends.
Yes. But then the French and Saunders as a TV thing then starts, that's after that, isn't it? Sort of starts getting...
Yes, French and Saunders happened much later than I think. I was thinking it happened quite soon. It didn't. It happened a while after. There was lots of bits of telly experience we did before we were actually finally summoned into the BBC. And there was a great executive then called Jim Moyer, who eventually went on to take over Radio 2. And he was quite a big bloke. And he sat us down. He said, right, girls, I'm going to put my dick on the table. You two got a series. And that was literally what he said. And we said, thanks, Jim. Don't put your dick on the table, but thanks. And we had a series. And after the first series, which wasn't a huge hit, and what the BBC did then was they allowed you to fail. They gave you a series which allowed you to make a mistake, to fail, to learn. And after the second series was the next time we saw him. We never saw him much in between. And he came down to the studio. Didn't watch it. Wasn't really interested. And he came down and he said, you're my new two Ronnies, and left. That was honestly the very few words that Jim ever spoke to us.
So how did you decide what would be in it then? Or was it just down to you? Was there any kind of, there's no...
No, it was literally down to us. We just had we had a great producer, John Plowman, and we just could decide whatever we wanted. And after the first series, we realized that probably wasn't it. And so we kind of made the second series a bit more sophisticated. We started doing parodies of films and TV, which was a lot easier then because everyone watched the same things all the time because they had to. There's no option. And now we kind of had there was nothing we weren't allowed to do. And even the budgets were sort of flexible, so we could make it up as we went along.
And it became more surreal as well, didn't it? I mean, that sort of always that going into the white room where you would sit and talk.
That seemed quite ordinary to it. I know other people find it quite surreal, but for us it seemed quite normal. And Dawn is a very surreal person, actually. Dawn is much more surreal than you'd imagine. And I'm always amazed when she always has conversations about a giant. And she always used to, into sketches, say, yeah, well, the giant said. And I go, the giant? And she'd go, yeah, the giant, Jen. The giant that lives over the hill. Don't you know the giant? And I'd think, okay, let's go with this one.
Yeah.
But I love those kind of surreal things that she brings to everything.
Because it's certainly that sort of idea that when you would go back into that white room in the village, it was always the kind of, anything was possible, actually.
Yeah, anything is possible, and that was what you had to sort of allow. You could be anyone, and it could be anything.
Yeah. And the idea with the parodies, that sort of started with one specific thing, or did it?
No, I think it was because we loved... We actually, our big heroes were Morecambe and Wise, and I always used to love their sketches and the way they always got stars on to do things. Well, we couldn't really do the song and dance thing, but we thought, if we just parody the TV shows, we can get all the stars on as well, and we tried.
And it grew and grew and grew as an idea that, I mean,
yes, and it became eventually, they sort of took over in a way, but it was massively expensive to do.
Yeah. Do you have a favourite amongst those?
A favourite amongst all the
parodies?
those?
Yes.
Amongst all the parodies? Oh, my goodness.
Anybody else have a favourite they shout out? Yeah.
Well, actually, but that wasn't a French and Saunders. That was a Comic Relief. But that is probably...
Monica of the Glen, somebody say.
Monica of the Glen, one of my favourites. Susan Hampshire.
Yeah.
Hello. I had the best prosthetics for Susan Hampshire ever. And I did enjoy doing Felicity Kendall. Just, I don't know why, just did. There's so many. ABBA was probably my favourite ever parody because we just enjoyed it so much, and it looked so good at the end. It's how it looks at the end that's the thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
But
So what was that one you were shouting out back there?
Silence of the Lambs, yes. Jodie Foster. Yes. Do you know why I like that? Is because Dawn and I tried whenever we could to get the Crankies involved in any sketch possible. We thought we owed it to the history of light entertainment to involve the Crankies whenever possible, and always very good value for money.
Let's go on and see what we've got here.
Ah,
Now.
yes. Does anyone remember Girls on Top?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Hello, down the front. Yeah, that was Girls on Top. That was our first sort of proper telly. Was that before French and Saunders?
According to this photo.
No, it wasn't. I think it might have been. And it was our first big sort of proper telly, and we'd met Ruby Wax because we had the same agent, and we decided to try and write a female young ones. Okay, may not have been like that, but that was our sort of idea. And the remarkable thing is, we'd never written anything in our lives, or I think ever been on telly apart from Tracy. And it got something like 14 million viewers because it was on ITV at the right time.
Yeah, back in those.
In the days when people had to watch the television at that time. Had no alternative. No Netflix, none of your nonsense, just telly.
But it was, I mean, obviously the difference, that was, although it was quite, it sort of broke with the form in some ways, it was still sort of sitcom. And that was...
Yeah, it was definitely...
Yeah. But then you just, but for French...
And it was the time we realised, me and Dawn, that whatever you write on a script happens. So you have to be really careful what you write on a script. Although once, we didn't even write it and it happened. And we arrived on the set of Girls on Top to find on the bed a bag of potatoes. And we said to the stage manager, some potatoes on the bed. Yeah, potatoes you asked for. There. Potatoes, potatoes, potatoes. And we said, no, we didn't. I don't think we ever need potatoes. And she said, yes, in the script, potatoes, potatoes. There you go, potatoes. And we looked at the script, and someone had mistyped photos for potatoes. And you suddenly realize no one thinks about the stuff, they just get it.
Yeah.
No one had read on to say they start looking through the potatoes, recognizing people they know in these potatoes.
See what we've got there.
My potato album.
Well, there is no...
yes.
No. So now we're moving on to this other
Yes.
partnership. Well, it's more complicated than just one partnership in AbFab. So obviously people talk a lot about whether this is who it's based on, but it's more
It's
complicated.
based on you, Francine.
Yes.
I based the whole thing on you.
Especially in the last 30 seconds.
Yes.
But it isn't just one individual. It's much more a kind of era, isn't it?
Yeah, I think because at the time we were living through the whole idea that PR was just emerging as this major power. You know, you were suddenly not just getting a small white invite to a party, you were getting like a whole toilet seat with something in the middle, and you know, it was like everything, perspex. And, you know, you'd be invited to a party, but it'd be linked in with a vodka. And it was like this kind of major overkill, PR-wise. And so I thought PR would be a great job for this character.
That's
because
perfect.
she can do anything. You can PR anything. Just make it fabulous. That's all you have to do. Just PR it. And the character came because we'd met a few people. We'd talked to people about their mothers, and how outrageous mothers sometimes produce quite dull daughters, or rebellious daughters, and they have no way to rebel on the other side. They have to rebel by being straight, and that's what Safi was.
So the three of them.
Yeah.
It's only because it works
It's a
with
horrible
Patsy,
little
is it?
triangle of
It's really
horribleness,
intense.
isn't it?
Yes. Everybody torturing everybody.
Everyone's
quietly.
torturing someone.
Yeah.
Yes.
But is that another example of a series that maybe grew into itself as it went along? Do you
Oh,
think?
totally. I mean, I don't think we sort of knew what we were doing with the pilot. It was literally, Dawn and I were due to do a French and Saunders show. Couldn't do it because Dawn was adopting her child at that time. And my agent shockingly rang me up and said, love, I think you should write something. And I thought, on my own? And she went, yes, I've. What can you do? And I thought, nothing. I can do nothing. I'd planned gardening. That's what I'd planned. And eventually I sort of thought about it, thought we'd done a sketch, me and Dawn playing the daughter, and I thought it's the only character I sort of knew I could write. So I did that. And it was a 10-minute sketch, so I figured out it wasn't that much longer I had to write to actually make it into a show. And so it seemed sort of easy.
And she goes on, there's film, maybe?
Yes.
Fab?
Yes, I'm writing the film. Yeah, as we speak. Well, not as we speak, obviously. But it is in the pipeline.
Yes. I'm going to ask for some questions from the audience. While the lights come out and you get your hands up and we get microphones to you, there's something briefly. I know a hell of a lot of people.
There's a whole nother tranche.
At the back. Procrastination. You talk about all this stuff you do, and yet you say in the book that you have a problem with putting stuff off, which I can understand. But you've done a hell of a lot for somebody who puts stuff off.
I've lived a long time. But I do put a lot off. And I'm trying to get procrastination as a disease. I want it actually defined as a disease so I can go to a clinic.
But you just work better under...
I'd quite like to go to a clinic. I'd probably put that off, never get round to it.
Do you actually work better, though, when you're really, really up against it?
Yes, always. Yeah. I think most people do, don't they?
They probably do. But it's got a lot. Okay, good. Where's the microphone with the person?
Hi, Viz. Coming towards you.
Yes, here he comes.
And he's heading there now. He's homing in. Let's go there. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Can I ask you about Viva Forever?
Yes.
It sounded like such a good commercial idea.
It was a great idea.
Yeah. Can you tell me about your experience with that and whether you were disappointed it closed?
Yeah, of course I was disappointed it closed. And I think had the climate been slightly different, had we had a bit more time on this and that, But these things happen. It went on for 10 months, longer than some.
Recently.
And I was very proud of it.
There we go. Yes.
Little person down here. Hello, little person with hat.
Good hat.
When is your movie coming out?
When is that movie coming out?
Okay, now you're asking a really serious question. And I'm going to have to say I don't really know, except I'm hoping by the end of next year.
That's quite soon.
Yes,
okay.
isn't it?
And there's not hand up there. Is this so big, this venue? It's almost impossible to hands. Yeah.
Hello.
Go.
Hi.
Hi.
Who would have been your comedy influences when you were growing up? Actresses or...
Olive. Olive, my dog just went, Olive. Olive. Hello. Olive, come here. Olive, come here. Stay there. Someone let her go. Oh, she escaped. Okay. Oh, just stay here. We're all right.
Yes.
Calm down. My comedy influences growing up were, I think, primarily Mr. Pastry. Does anyone remember Mr. Pastry? Mr. Pastry. His name was Richard Hearn, I think.
Yeah.
And he was just the funniest clown. He was a real, proper, old-fashioned clown. And he played an old man when old men were allowed to entertain children. Which they're probably not now. And he used to absolutely crack me up. But my dad had always loved Laurel and Hardy, never Charlie Chaplin. No, always considered him a bit soft. And Lucille Ball, I would say. Yeah, proper clowns. I love physical jokes.
Yeah, and also, I suppose, because I was thinking about Francine Saunders, how many sort of two female comedy actors do you get together, get in previous things? So there's Rhoda, I suppose, isn't there, back in that sort of Mary Tyler Moore kind of time, but that's not so...
There's not so many double acts, actually.
No,
there was an English
sitcoms.
Double act called the Walters sisters, was it? Doris and...
Oh, Elsie and Doris.
Elsie and Doris Waters, they were one. But no, there's not a lot.
Good.
Could do
Okay.
with more.
Yes, there's a hand
Hello.
here, and there's one straight away. Go. You've got the microphone. Yeah.
Olive, stay here, please.
Thank you. My wife was asking me the other day, whatever happened to raw sex?
Ah.
She might not have been referring to the act. Well, raw sex were the act that Dawn and I used to tour with and were on our show a lot. And Roland Rivron is still around and has his own career. And unfortunately, we lost Simon Brint a couple of years ago, so they are no more.
Great. Okay. Yes, hand right up at the back there, but you first.
Oh, hang on, we've got...
Yeah. Hand up there. Yeah.
Hello.
I think your husband is absolutely gorgeous.
Oh, shut up. Aid, come out here immediately. Is he there?
Is he with you?
Here he is.
No way!
And my question was, apart from why can't I have him, why have you never both done something together? I mean,
We've
on
had
the
3 children.
I mean, on the... Well, what about now that...
Well, you know, we did do... He had a bit in ab fab, and we did some comic strip stuff together. But the truth is, when we were bringing up the kids, it wasn't practical to both be working at the same time.
Yes.
So either one of us was working and the other one wasn't. I mean,
So is there space now to do it?
It's also because I think Aid would be absolutely... There is space now, yes. Thank you.
I also think your husband's very attractive, by the way. That's not the question. Which person currently on TV would you like to work with as a double act?
Which other person on TV would I like to work with as a double act? Crikey. Oh, I can't think. That'd be awful to say, wouldn't it now? Yeah. And then them going, oh, I don't want to work with her. What on earth would you think? Oh, I don't know. I mean, I've lots of people I admire. There's, you know, Victoria Wood and Julie Walters and all those sorts of people. There's a lot of good young comedians. There's, you know, Katie Wicks and Anna Crilly, but they are a double act. I honestly don't know. You've flummoxed me now.
Well, there was one. I did read something when you went to Australia. Whether you were just saying this because you wanted to be nice to the Australians, but you did say that you liked things like Kath and Kim and Summer Heights High. But there's something about Australian comedy that you found really quite liberated.
I was in Australia.
You were in Australia. I did wonder that.
And I do find it really interesting.
I like Summer Heights High.
Oh, Summer Heights High is absolutely brilliant. I think Chris Lilly is brilliant.
Yeah.
Yes, I
Yeah,
do.
big
I
round
think
for
he's
that.
an extremely clever, and they do have a way of just being quite broad and quite out there. I do like that. Yeah, gosh, Chris Lilly, yeah.
Okay, there we are. There's an invitation to Chris Lilly. Okay, there's a hand way at the back. Anybody down here for the other microphone? Has anybody got it at the moment?
No,
Sorry.
no hands up.
No, there isn't. There are. There's
up
just.
there.
The masses of hands up. Sorry, it's quite difficult to see. Get one for there, for the next one. Thank you. Yes, go at the back.
Thank you for waiting. I was just wondering, do you think you'd ever get round to finishing writing the film you had planned with Goldie Hawn? Because I think that would be one of the most amazing things ever.
Yes, for those that haven't read the book, me and Ruby Wax did once start writing a film for Goldie Hawn that we thought would take a week and never happened. But I would like to write a version of it. I think Ruby and I have always got in our heads that we'd like to write a version of it. Maybe we just write the story of how it all happened.
Good. Okay. Yes.
You and Dawn just seem genuinely collegiate, and you genuinely seem to love each other. And I wonder if there's a little bit of you that is actually quite competitive and burns with fire when Dibley does really well, and you think, right, okay, set the bar there, I'm going to go higher.
No, all good for the brand. That's what I think. The better we do individually, the better it is as French and Saunders. I don't have any, really not the slightest bit of competition with Dawn.
Because you stopped the French and Saunders touring and everything, but French and Saunders still sort of exists.
It
there.
exists, well, it exists just because we get together and have fun.
Yeah.
It exists for us, yes. And we do radio stuff. And I think we will do something together, but probably just not sketches. Yes. There you go.
Sort of interpretive dance?
I don't know. Yes. Possibly interpretive dance, possibly panto. Who knows? That's in the pipeline, maybe.
Oh, yes.
Just thought it'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, certainly would. Okay, we've got time for 2, 3 more. There it is. There, yes, just up there. Thanks. And here.
Gosh, you've got good eyes.
Just making it up, actually.
Hi. We absolutely adore you. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
Who was the funniest celebrity that you've ever worked with?
Blimey. Oh, that's really hard. The funniest celebrity we've ever worked. Do you know, I think one of the funniest people I've ever worked with is Mo Gaffney, who plays Bo in Ab Fab. She's an American comedian, and she just flies when she's doing comedy. And I think she's seriously, and also Ruby Wax for writing with is the funniest person, but Mo Gaffney for performance.
Great, okay.
No, you're looking into the dark there.
I am vaguely.
Oh,
no,
you're looking at the high vis man.
There.
There he is, high vis. Hello?
Hi. After doing voice acting in Shrek, what do you find harder to do, voice acting or visual acting on screen?
Voice acting or visual acting? I find voice acting probably the hardest because I've got quite naturally quite a flat voice, I think, and I probably find that the hardest. You know, just to try and get some interest into your sentences. Because otherwise you just talk like this and sound like yourself. That's my fear. Well, everyone knows what it's like when you hear yourself back on a tape recorder or when you've been... The worst... do you know what I found is the worst thing? Is when I'm filming, especially like children or something lovely on my phone, and I'm cackling away. And when I play it to people, I have to turn the sound right down so they're just not looking and hearing... Oh, do that again. I just say, no, don't. When you're filming, don't speak. Don't say a sound.
Yeah. Okay. One more. Any more down there? That's pressure of the last question.
Big hand. It's a huge hand there.
Oh, there is. Okay.
It's actually quite a huge
Very, very
hand.
quick then. Let's see. Oh. It passed straight by you, sorry. A huge hand one.
Hello, Jennifer.
Hello.
When I was a teenager, I was fortunate enough to spend a lot of time at Lagarde Farm, where you kept your horse.
Well, what's your name?
And I have very fond memories of you keeping us all, at the age of 13, in complete hysterics with your sketches and stories. And I just wondered, did you ever not realise then that you were going to be
I have
famous
no
comedian?
memory of keeping people in stitches. Isn't that funny? What's your name?
Peter Wood.
Peter Wood. And who are you friends with? Sorry. Forget the audience for a minute. Who are you friends with?
Deborah and Juanita.
Yes. Well, they were my friends.
Hence the fact that
Wow.
I remember you sitting around the dining table, keeping everybody in total hysterics. And I just
Do you know, I have no memory of that. Well, thank you for that.
I just wonder. We all thought
I don't
at
actually
the time
remember
we
that.
all thought that you would become what you are. And
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Thank you.
Thank you for your prescience.
Wow. have no member.
Thank you for having that clairvoyant element, and thank you for all your questions. Particular thanks
Yes,
to
thank
Jennifer.
you.
But before we all give her that huge round of applause, she's going to go to the bookshop now to sign copies of Bonkers, which if you don't have it, you should most certainly have. And if you do, a signed copy would be even better on top. So she will be there in the bookshop. And there's also going to be a collection on your way out for Sri Lanka Rebuild, which is a locally based charity supporting 5 preschools and a health centre in Sri Lanka following the tsunami in 2014. And so we do hope you will support that cause on your way out. But in the meantime, many, many thanks to
Thank
Jennifer
you.
Saunders.
Thank you.